Hello and welcome to Not Without My Sister, the podcast where... Do you think we need to keep doing that at the beginning of every podcast? People don't know now. The podcast that is impossible to explain because we just ramble about random things that we know some stuff about.
Excuse me. The most relatable podcast that talks about life, the universe, current events.
The podcast for everyone who has a sister or wishes they had one. Or wishes they didn't.
Or is a sister.
I'm Rosemary McCabe.
I'm Beatrice.
And today on the podcast, we're going to talk about my favourite topic and also thing to do, complaining.
Oh, I thought you were going to say blowjobs. It's actually so accurate. That's why you're annoyed.
We were talking about the other day. Whoa. When you said something like, God, you wouldn't have time for that. And I was like, time takes 4 minutes. You get it done in the length of a song.
You didn't say that. You didn't say. You said time, it takes 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, the length of a song. If you really put your back into it.
I can't imagine you ever putting your back into it.
No, you have to. No, you just do it lying down. That's the best way.
Sorry, I brought it up. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, this is absolutely your fault. Mom, if you're listening, Beatrice brought this up.
Mom, if you're listening, you're doing it wrong if it's longer than 3 minutes.
That's what dogs do, Beatrice.
Oh God, keep going. Okay,
so we want to talk about complaining on the basis that basically we're Irish and we find it very hard to complain, don't we? Like in restaurants and stuff.
Well,
and I feel like Americans are better at that.
Well, actually, it's funny when you said that because I was thinking, complain. We love to complain, right?
Oh yeah,
we love
like
to
among
complain.
ourselves.
Yeah, we love to complain. We just don't like to actually do anything about it or tell the person to whom like that we are complaining about or the object.
But listen, 100%.
Yeah.
Like a restaurant scenario, right? You're sitting there, you're eating your dinner. Mom turns around and goes, "Oh, the steak's very dry. I think these potatoes could do with a bit more salt." The waiter comes around, it's everything like delicious.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the Irish way, isn't it?
Well, Don is American and Don is the same. So I'll go. We'll be at a restaurant. And I'll go. Is this nice? It's gross. And I go, okay. Well, do you want me to change it? No. Shh! Don't say anything. We'll never come back here. We'll strike this from our list of
Now you're literally making him sound
restaurants.
like a little like California granny.
Well,
No,
that's what he said. Well, I'm trying to. He complained about the voice I gave him, but I mean, it was a perfect impression.
That's even worse.
Okay, so I'll go back to his actual voice. No, we're never coming back here. And I go, what do you mean? Because now in Fort Wayne, it's not like we have an unlimited, assortment of options.
Oh, you're right.
So,
Once you take something off the list, that's
yeah,
it.
and he's taken multiples off the list.
Has he?
Yes, he has.
For what? What kind of infractions? Is it all just like food, like flavour related?
What is this decor? I can't relax in here.
Oh.
These seats are so uncomfortable.
Okay, well, do you want to move over there to the banquet?
No, just finish up. Let's go.
Oh my God, speaking of decor, I was telling Brandon I can't wait to go breastfeeding Cracker Barrel.
Why? They'd probably be like, the Virgin Mary has returned. Rosemary, there's nothing like, there's nothing
I feel like Cracker
obscene.
Barrel's I feel like there's going to be a lot of like dirty looks.
Where is Cracker Barrel here? Is there one?
There's several.
Oh,
I think.
I only ever went to Cracker Barrel once
Did you
down
get
in
the fried
Florida.
apples?
I don't know what I got. I went down in Florida when I was with Don and his family, and we went first of all we went on a trip out to see, I don't know, the Everglades. And Don on the way there was giving me like the history of alligators and how dangerous they are, and how you really need to be careful because they can move with such speed that even though they look very kind of lumbering and slow, they can jump out of the water and grab you before you know you've been grabbed, and then they bring you back underwater and they twirl like they twirl
They shake you
themselves
around
around.
like a rag doll, don't they?
Well, they twirl you. They totally disorient you. Then they drown. Then they basically twirl until you're drowned, and then they go and hide you somewhere in a cave. Right. So all this. Now I'm terrified. Right. So then we get to this like, I don't know what you would call it, swampy area. Don jumps out and starts shouting, "An alligator! An alligator!" And I go, "Where?" And he goes, "About a foot away from me. Look!" And he did not move. And I was like, "Get back over here." No, and he just kept pointing at it like and laughing really gleefully like an absolute, I don't even know what, lunatic.
Maybe he was just like, I don't think I want this with this woman.
Maybe. Well, his mom was standing beside me and she was like, "This is incredibly dangerous." Yeah, she was like, she's like, "Don has always been like this. He's just ridiculous around animals." Oh, she also texted me this week to tell me that she said She said, I lolled at your description of me. I never had a poisonous snake. Well, listen, it was a snake, so might as well have been poisonous. She goes, and I did not feed it mice every day. You feed mice. You feed mice to a snake once every 3 or 4 weeks. But I mean, regardless, she took a mouse and she fed it to that snake in her house. So like, that's not kimmage.
Listen, you would actually be lucky if you had a snake to eat all your mice. Especially in your previous houses.
Oh my
That would
God,
have
did I
been
tell
a
you Dan
bonus.
found a little desiccated mouse at the bottom of the stairs this week? A baby
Oh
mouse.
no. You
Well-
told me he found one squashed under something.
Yeah, we just got all the carpets cleaned. So they came back in all rolled up. So we put them downstairs because we were going to just put them away for a while because they just keep getting too filthy, which I mean, I know is the whole purpose of a carpet, but like
Rugs, like,
rug,
yeah.
So he goes downstairs. So they got dumped at the bottom of the stairs. So he goes downstairs to pick them up and he said he found a little flattened, mummified baby mouse under one of them. I don't know how, obviously when he threw it down over the stairs, it just like squashed that thing there, then and there. God bless
That's kind
it.
of a skill.
God bless.
But sorry, can I just go back to Cracker Barrel for 1 second? They have excellent Christmas decorations. That's where I got the glittery Holy Bible that I gave Mum.
I would love a glittery Holy Bible.
Oh my
Why
God.
didn't you get me one?
Well, listen, this Christmas I'll go back and get glittery Holy
great. I'll
Bibles
come
for all
with
of us.
you.
Mum said she thought it was a bit blasphemous.
Of course she did.
Listen, I think Jesus would love a bit of glitter.
Actually, that's a good point. Like, why is glitter exclusively...
I think it's part of the whole like austerity vibe in the church.
What austerity? Have you been to the
Well,
Vatican?
that's actually true. Yeah. I was thinking more like they think like...
Sorry, it's austerity for you, non-austerity for us.
I suppose austerity not... I mean like austerity of fun. Not austerity of like money, but in terms of like that's too fun for religion. You can't make religion fun.
My auntie Elizabeth gave me a family Holy Bible for my communion, it must have been.
It's covered in glitter.
No.
Oh.
But I loved it. I read it like front to back.
Of course you did. Beady No Mates. I finished my Jane Austen collection. Now I'm going to start into the Bible.
I absolutely loved it. I read it multiple, like it's full of great stories,
the
genuinely.
Old Testament or the New Testament? Or is it both, the Bible?
Correct. Don't know. Probably the old one. I don't know. It was one full of stories, but it was a family Bible, so it wasn't like
stories.
it was great. Genuinely, it was great. I read it like it was worn out. I really enjoyed it.
I used to love Aesop's Fables.
That's not the same thing.
Well, it's the same in terms of like...
That's blasphemous now. Anyway,
Facts.
back to the complaining. So I called you the other day because I went into Kroger and I purchased myself some of the new Drew Barrymore makeup, which I
Drew
was
Barrymore, our fave.
yes, flower makeup, and I was like, oh, this looks lovely. She
Flower
looks,
Beauty.
yeah, she looks very happy and colourful in these, in these beauty shots. And I was
Can
like,
I ask a question?
what?
Do you think Drew Barrymore, like... Do you think you'd actually like to be mates with her? Or do you think she'd be somebody who'd like wear you out with her relentless happiness? She does always seem to be like
I'd
delighted.
say she's not relentlessly happy at all.
Oh.
I'd say she's a high low. I'd say she's more like you. Happy, but then, emotional. A bit like Busy
Complex.
Phillips, who seems to be very happy with her life, but is constantly crying and emotional too.
Excuse me. I'm not constantly crying.
Sorry, I
mean-
said Busy Phillips.
Oh, well, you said she's like you and Busy Phillips as
Yeah.
well.
Listen, it doesn't mean you're all the exact same, but there's this commonality of like very happy, enjoys life, also
Smart,
has
funny.
curly haired.
Go on.
Anyway, in Kroger, saw this makeup and I thought to myself, I'll try this. Because also it's like, you're supporting a person versus, not that she needs to be supported, but like there's a certain connection to versus a brand,
Yeah, that you're buying
I was
Drew
like,
Barrymore. You're
I was
not
like,
buying
I'll try
L'Oreal.
this, right? Yeah. So I try this.
Although it's probably owned by one of those, isn't it?
And no doubt.
on
So anyway, I buy eyeliner. You can never have too many eyeliners. You can, but like I still love them.
only
And
have one.
I'm always looking for the good liquid eyeliner, right?
Good point.
And
Sorry,
a bronzer.
You know what's a very, very good liquid eyeliner? I'm going to stop interrupting you right after this.
Are you?
Yes. No. Soap and Glory, and you can get that in Walgreens.
So I went into Kroger and I saw the Drew Barrymore beauty assortment selection, whatever you want to call it, line. Flower makeup.
Flower Beauty, I think,
Right.
isn't it?
Flower Beauty. And I bought an eyeliner because you never have too many good liquid eyeliners. Actually, I have none. So I bought one from her, like liquid eyeliner pen and a bronzer that I have to say, I did think to myself, is this a bit too shimmery, right?
It's hard to get a non-shimmery bronzer. A nice one, like.
I do like the Charlotte Tilbury one.
I have a Chanel one I'll give you because it just doesn't, like, people love it and I did love it. And then I put it on the other day and I was like, I think because a lot of my makeup is very pale and I don't do a lot of like bronzing and contouring and stuff. And now it just seems way too dark on me or something. But I have several, but I'll give it to you.
It's probably too dark. I mean, mine are pretty light because I'm not
a bit
exactly.
orange,
Yeah.
basically.
Anyway, so I bought these two things and I put them in my bag. Then I put the eyeliner on the next day and I was like, oh, I saw this weird tool for eyeliner application. Have you seen that?
Like a stencil or what?
It was like a thing that I don't know, I'll have to look it up afterwards, but like it was the Allure Beauty winner of the year. And I'm like, this is bizarre to me, but it was all about like how you get the perfect curve on your eye. Anyway, I'll find it later on, but I was wondering if I should try it.
I've seen a lot of people doing tape You know, if you
Oh.
do like a tiny little bit of tape under your eye and basically do your eyeliner on top of it, then it gives you like a perfect line.
Oh my God. I just
mean,
I
listen.
can't. I don't have, but anyway, they're always totally bandy and one is always totally different than the other.
That's true. I mean, for everyone.
For me. Anyway, so put them on, was delighted with myself, potentially put on too much, like maybe because I was overcorrecting the fact that I put too much on the second one and then had to go back and correct the first one, etc.
Always happens.
Took the bronzer out of my handbag and it had cracked, you know, the top part, like, 'cause it was it's quite dome shaped, quite bulbous on the top, and the whole thing had cracked off in my handbag and was now like a powdery mess.
In your, like, the powder was all in your handbag?
No, inside the case, inside
Okay,
the container.
good.
But like the
'Cause
minute
in
I
your
opened it, I
handbag
had to
be a
throw it
worse
in the
nightmare.
bin, you know. But actually, what actually happened was I opened it, got it all over my clothes, and then had to throw it in the bin. So that was I was raging with myself. Anyway, at about like 11 o'clock, go to the bathroom and see that my eyes now look like I have been, you know, I've looked entire panda, and nobody's told me. I was at work, right? So I'm just like big black panda eyes. I mean, you'd think that like eyeliner is going to have some staying power, right? It's not just supposed to turn into cold pencil.
No, but I mean, eyeliner and mascara, because I have quite hooded eyes, they never stay. Like, they just go all over my eyelid and all under my eyes. But then I saw somebody saying if you put on your eyeliner and then put a little bit of powder with an eyeshadow brush on top of it and under your eyes, it can stop it smudging. But I don't know. I think my oily face gets through any kind of
I
powder.
also think the fact that you keep giving me tips of how to do things, and immediately I'm like, I'm not doing that. It's too much work. That could be why this is not
also
successful for me.
tips that I don't do.
Oh, okay.
Tips that I've like seen on TikTok
But
and
there
Instagram
are-
and like, that's interesting, and never tried them.
But it's more like these things are problems for everybody, only I'm not willing to deal with them, right? I'm like, I have different expectations. Anyway, so I called you up and I was like, these are crap, right? And you said,
Well, no, you called me up and you were like, oh my God, I just bought this bronzer and now it's broken in tiny pieces, blah, blah. And I said, bring it back. And I said, Kim would bring it back, our friend who, because we had both had the same subscription to this succulent studio where they send you 2 mini succulents each month. And I have 3 surviving succulents now out of about 10. And I was telling her how my succulents all died. And she was like, oh my God, like, you know, send them pictures and they'll send you new ones or complain. And I was like, oh, I actually just think it's my problem. Like, I think I'm just not a good succulent mom. But Kim, I feel like, is a good person who, if something is even slightly wrong with something, will happily bring it back.
well, I
and,
mean,
like,
a
stand her
good
ground.
person, it's not good if that's your business, right? Because I also think I have another friend who you also know who has, every time she gets a bunch of flowers, like I'd say it's 50-50 if she won't be requesting a replacement. You know, I mean, I don't think, I think once I asked for a replacement from Books when I had that subscription, when everything arrived dead, like everything was literally dead. She would be more like, this only lasted 10 days.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
You know, I'm more like, this actually arrived in terrible condition. Like I have some plants that I ordered recently that arrived dead that I still have not gotten around to saying, hey, these were dead. Can you replace them? I think that's a different consideration. Anyway, and I said, well, you know, you said, send them back. I said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. But I was like, I'm definitely going to write a review, which then led me to think, well, I mean, of course I didn't write a review, because the other thing is, I mean, they don't make it super easy, because once you want to write a review, you then have to sign in, make an account. I'm like, oh God, no, thanks.
Oh yeah.
I mean, also, and then I start thinking that, I mean, I also feel like when I'm complaining, my writing or like my points become very rambling. I give this entire backstory and it's like nobody actually cares.
I know what you mean, but I think also because you work in like retail more or less, you know what I mean? Like in a retail environment, and I've worked in retail, you also want to justify it because you don't want to be the kind of person who's just like, oh God, they'll complain about anything. Do you know what I mean? So like when I'm giving complaints, I'm like, you know, I don't think this was, like, what did I complain about recently? Where I was like, I just don't think this was up to par. I was expecting XYZ. And I feel like, and I like that I was writing a Leaving Cert essay about it. Because I was literally I didn't want them just to think that I was like, I thought this was black and it was dark brown. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I complained recently to Anthropology over these chairs that you also purchased, right? Mm-hmm. And they have, the ones that I bought have a molded plywood seat, like very simple, and then metal legs, and they're held in place with these little plastic casters that kind of hold, what would you call them? Brackets?
Kind of brackets, yeah.
Yeah, and they screw into the base, but they also hold the legs in place. Anyway, one by one, these things have broken. I have 6 chairs, and on each one of them, there's now about 1 intact. So I called up anyway, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, it's been over 12 months since you purchased these chairs." And I said, "Yeah, well, you know, it's been 13 months," but like I wasn't thinking that. I said, "But regardless, you know, these things are faulty because I'm not asking to replace it because I don't like it or because." I said, but they're faulty. Every single one of them has broken. Well, it's been 12 months. I said, listen, I spent nearly $1,000 on this. I bought six chairs.
They're $150 each, weren't they?
Yeah,
About
at least, right? I said, I spent nearly $1,000 on these. May make me think I didn't spend $1,000 on them. Anyway, that would be $900.
Yeah.
So I spent nearly $1,000 on these. I don't expect my furniture to break after a year. Yeah, well, sorry, it's been a year. I say, could I speak to a manager? The managers aren't here right now. I go, okay, well, I'd like to speak to a manager. Well, it's been over 12 months. I go, are you telling me that Anthropologie's policy is that after 12 months, like I should expect to replace my furniture every 12 months? I would consider that very reasonable. I go, well, I would not consider that reasonable. Well, I'm sorry that you disagree with our policy. I go, don't disagree with your policy, but these things are obviously faulty. Then I got into such a blind rage that I couldn't even talk anymore. Mm-hmm. So finally I hang up, right? And I was like, thanks very much for like your zero help. And it was being recorded. I was also very conscious of that if I ever came back and needed to like bring this out in court, I didn't want to be saying something,
You didn't want to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, get Don to call up. Don calls up because he's an amazing complainer as an American. Like he will call up and he will complain. Like he's complained to AT&T and gotten so many refunds of ridiculous things. Like, when you go to Ireland and you're accidentally data roaming, even though your phone is turned off, and he's gotten these things refunded because he calls up and he just yells at them, right? And I go, and I just can't do it because I'm genuinely yelling, whereas he's like fake yelling to get his point across.
Yeah. And then he gets off the phone and he's calm, whereas we yell and we get off the phone, we're crying.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like hysterical. My heart's beating. I'm all shaking. Oh my God,
yeah.
I'm exhausted. I have to lie down.
Yeah.
So when he calls up, he gets to speak to the manager. The manager says, oh, no problem. I'll send you these clips. They never arrived.
Oh.
Yeah. So now Dad has 3D printed me all these replacement clips.
I know. They're taking up space in my box from Mum.
Yeah, but I am going to write to Anthropology and say that was appalling customer service because like that is not okay. I mean, do you actually expect to replace your furniture once a year?
No.
Mom and Dad have had their furniture for their entire lives and probably the lives of whoever they got the furniture from.
If I was to buy 6 chairs, and I mean, this still shouldn't happen, but if I was to buy 6 chairs from Amazon and they were $15 each, and they fell apart after a year, I might be like, oh, I probably should have forked out in the more expensive chairs. But like anything that's over, like any piece of furniture, like.
But I mean, they were the most simple chairs. It's not like these are also and then when I went on to the reviews all said the same thing.
Oh, did they? But they're also not like show chairs. They're not like beautiful plush.
No, these are
chairs
super functional chairs,
quote unquote good room.
Yes.
Yeah, they're just chairs.
These are functional kitchen
dining
chairs. Exactly. Yeah. And they all said the same thing. The brackets broke, blah blah. And you're like, you obviously have a product issue here.
Yeah.
This is not I changed my mind and I don't like it.
This is a manufacturing problem,
and I'm treating it badly. Yeah. So actually, now I'm enraged again. I have to write to them. But anyway, I'm not an effective complainer at all.
Well, I bought a pair of Alexander McQueen runners from Brown Thomas probably about 6 years ago now. Do you remember the ones they had that were like a little bit like Converse, but they had stars, they're like black stars, they were white, they had black stars on the side. And I bought them because when you go to the Brown Thomas fashion show, you get a €200 voucher towards shoes, right? But I obviously added another 250 because they were 450.
That's how they get you every time.
Every single time. Because the only shoes you can buy in Brown Thomas with €200, I mean, that sounds ridiculous.
Or a pair of socks.
But are the Carvela or the maybe Dune, and I just don't like them that much. And
I know, it's tough, Rosemary, it's tough.
Very difficult.
What did you do the other day? What did you do the other day to actually get that blister? Look at your foot.
Oh, no, I put on my sandals. I walked from my house to your car. I walked from your car to a cafe. I walked from a cafe back to your car, like
with the children, having had
delicious waffles and then both spilling hot chocolate
milk
everywhere.
Spilt all over you, yeah.
I walked probably 10 meters back to the car. Then we drove over to Target and I walked around Target for approximately 30 minutes.
Slowly.
Very slowly. Shuffled around Target like a pregnant person in like fake Birkenstocks. And then I had a blister. And I did, like you saw it.
You did. Thanks. Unless you had it before and you hadn't told me.
Beatrice, if I had a blister, you'd know all about it.
Oh yeah, it's true.
No way I wouldn't have told you.
I mean,
anyway.
It's true. There you go. Complain to me, but you can't complain.
Oh my God. Excuse me, Target. These $10 sandals are giving me a blister.
Actually, that's the Amazon $15 chair. Yeah, you're like, I suppose exactly. The blister comes with it. Okay, go on.
Long story short, bought these shoes, showed them to Instagram. Right? This is actually like the main problem for me was that I showed them to Instagram and I was like, got these shoes. I know they're ridiculous, but I love them, blah, blah, blah. Wore them maybe 3 times. They were fucking incredibly uncomfortable, right? The one thing. So I was like determined to break them in. But then I noticed that the toe cap was coming away from the sole, like just peeling away. And I was like, that's really bad. Like they were so expensive. And like, surely that's a fault. So I brought them back in. And also because I told Instagram. So I told Instagram this as well. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, my new shoes, blah, blah, blah. Brought them into Brown Thomas and was like, these are faulty, I'd like a refund. And the manager was basically like, oh, we don't give refunds. Oh no. Her thing was, well, these have obviously been worn. And I was like, yeah, like they have been worn 3 times. Like, you know, they were worn, but they weren't filthy. But I was like, they're worn. Like, you can't resell them, but they're faulty.
Yeah, but I have an expectation that like what I purchase is like has a certain quality to it, right?
Yeah. And I was like, they're faulty. I'd like a refund. She goes, I mean, that's just the way they're made. And I'm like, yes, faultily, you know, badly made. I would like, you know, I want my money back. She was like, well, the thing is, we're entitled to offer you a refund or a repair. And I said, great, I'd like to choose a refund. And she was like, oh, no, you don't get to choose. We get to choose. So we'll send them off to be repaired. I was like, I don't want them to be repaired. Like, that this shouldn't have happened after 3 wears. I want my money. Anyway, so she was basically like, no, our policy is you've worn them. We're not giving you a refund. I was like, they're literally faulty. But then I did the total dick thing and I contacted the PR people because I was basically going, I've already talked to Instagram about this and I didn't want to go back onto Instagram and be like, they're telling me I can't get a refund because it looked really bad for them as well. But then, of course, the PR person was like, go in and talk to this person. Then they gave me the refund.
Yeah, good.
Which, like, I felt kind of bad about it. But you know what, as well? That just goes to show, I think, you just can't drop these things. I remember telling Mom.
Yeah, you can't.
When I worked in Zara, right?
I was just about to ask this story.
Yeah, when I worked in Zara, people used to come in for refunds. I remember, like, one of the main things they'd come in with was like, I bought this wool jumper and now it's a child's wool jumper. And you'd go, how did you wash it? And they'd go, put it in the machine 30 degrees. And you'd be like, it says hand wash only. They'd be like, well, I didn't know that. And you're like, well, it says on the label. So half the time they'd go off in a rage going like, well, that's ridiculous. And also because like the wool jumpers were something like €22. So how would you know? You know what I mean? You just think they were cheap jumpers you can put in the washing machine. But anyway, the people who basically didn't give up, who stood there and were like, I'd like to talk to a manager. I'd like to talk to another manager. I'd like to talk to another manager. And now I'd like to talk to like Mr. Ortega from Inditex. I'd like to talk to God about this problem that I'm having. And they just would not leave. And eventually one of the managers just be like, just give them their money back. Just because they'd be standing at the till. They'd be causing, like, not shouting or anything, just like causing everyone to be stressed, going, this person's never leaving. Right?
But I remember you had some good advice for Mother on this.
So I told Mom, which I slightly now regret for the sake of all the retail workers in Ireland. I told Mom, I was like, well, like, whatever happens, whenever you, like, if ever you're complaining, and, you know, not that I was like, bring back everything, but if ever something happens, something's faulty, you're bringing it back. Just don't move. Because they often try to shuffle you away from the till because they want to get you away from all the other customers so you're not, like, causing a scene. And I was like, just don't move. Just say, no, I'm fine. I'll wait here. And so now this is what Mom does. So whenever she goes to complain about anything, she'll go up to the till and they'll go, okay, you know, could you just step aside like while we're waiting for the manager and I'll serve the next customer. And she's like, no, I'm fine. And she just stands there. And I think I don't know a time that it hasn't worked for her. That she gets the refund every single time.
Yeah, because they're like, get this woman out of here.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. But like, basically, it's not even about, because I was going to say, like, the more polite you are, the less likely you are to get your refund. That's not it. But it's like the more, like, the quieter you are and the more...
The calmer and the more persistent.
Well, no. Yes, persistence. But I was going to say, like, the quieter and nicer you are, the more likely you are to get fobbed off.
Mm-hmm.
But the firmer you are, when you're like, no, this is faulty. I would like my money back and I'm not moving. But see, I didn't do that in Brand Thomas because I was like, embarrassed because I think I always just feel like when I go into Brand Thomas they look at me like I'm a scruff.
But isn't there a difference between, like, for example, with that anthropology example, there's a difference between I'm returning this because I changed my mind and this is faulty, right?
Oh, 100%.
Don't you have, does the 1 year warranty still, like, is it still, I don't actually know the legal implications because they also vary from country to country, but like, are you eligible to say, like, this is faulty? I mean, you are. I mean, even if there's a 1 year warrant, like 1 year guarantee or whatever, one return policy, not a guarantee. That's not what I'm trying to say. Does the 1 year return policy only cover change of mind or does it also cover like defects?
In Ireland, as far as I know, the timed return policy, whether it's a month, 3 months, 6 months, I mean, it's never 6 months. It's like a month. And then I think something like next is maybe 3 months and maybe like Argos, but I could be wrong. Those return policies cover, I changed my mind.
I didn't like it. Yeah.
I didn't like it. It didn't fit me, whatever. But if something is faulty, in the consumer rights in Ireland, you have an expectation of that it's fit for purpose. And that can kind of vary. So like if you buy a pair of leather shoes, you can argue these should be fit for purpose for 3 years, as long as I'm not like climbing Kilimanjaro in them. Do you know what I mean?
How long should my kitchen chairs be fit for purpose? I think more than 12 months, right?
I think definitely more than 12 months.
Because apart from anything else, even when you order them, I would say it then took probably 6 weeks for me to get them.
Yeah.
So
that's an extra 6 weeks grace period. I mean, the thing is, the problem with comparing it to something like mom and dad or like our parents is that things were much better quality 20 and 30 and 40 years ago.
In some instances.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Well, I mean, I would say, so I work at Vera Bradley, as you know, and we have a return policy, which is basically no matter what, the customer is right.
Oh.
So I actually think that's really interesting because I saw a comment on Facebook. There's a group called the Vera Bradley Buzz.
Yeah, so basically I'll tell you because I've been following this group as well, and I can tell you more objectively because I don't work for Vera Bradley. There's this group on Facebook that I also joined called the Vera Bradley Buzz that is populated by, I mean, obviously me, a lurker, but also the most enthusiastic, loyal, committed Vera Bradley fans.
Of whom you are rapidly becoming one because
Oh
the
my
things
God.
that you say are very Vera Bradley Buzz.
Yeah, true. And I also have to show you the picture of, because I put all my Vera Bradley bags up on the shelf in my walk-in wardrobe, and I literally look like, because they frequently share pictures going, here's how I store my Veras. And it's literally like 57 tote bags.
It's a full room in many cases.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It's kind of like Michael Jackson's Neverland, but without the weirdness. Like, just all Vera Bradley, so it's amazing.
Well, one of them posted, so they post stories about like, I bought this and do you like this? And then they post reviews to each other and they ask each other advice. And one of them posted and said, I have this bag that I bought, that my mom bought for me at Vera Bradley, 18 months ago. I've decided I've grown tired of the pattern, so I shall return it. And, for a refund, which I thought was hilarious. Like, I've been literally using it for a year and a half. And she wasn't pretending she hadn't. She was literally like, I gotten a bit sick of the pattern. So she goes, and so afterwards they're like, report back, tell us how you get on. She's like, oh, no problem. Brought it in. They gave me a full refund. And I bought a replacement, same bag, different, more updated pattern. I was like, that's customer service.
God,
now.
imagine.
That's what I want.
Oh my God, my eyes have literally lit up with the possibilities. I'm like, all the stuff in my wardrobe over the years that I'm like, sick of this, sick of this, sick of this, worn this 10 million times, 10 holes in the crotch. Let's exchange it for a new pair. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
but they
my
don't.
life would be so much easier.
I mean, it's really, but it is excellent customer service because like the amount of goodwill that you generate, is more valuable than the argument you're going to have at the till. Now, I'm sure there are exceptions to this story, and I'm sure if people are listening and they'd be like, well, I once tried to return a Vera Bradley and had no joy, etc.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, for
But
everything.
but
and I'm
in
sure there's
general,
somebody out there who tried to return their Alexander McQueen runners and had no problem.
we'd like to hear from you. And we'd like to hear if you did think they were faulty, or did Rosemary just have a faulty pair? Well, it reminds me of, do you know, our Aunt Ursula, who is, I'd say, a vocal champion of her own rights.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think would vocally champion your rights as
The
well.
rights of others, yes, probably. The rights, just a vocal champion of rights that she deems to be infringed upon,
Yes.
right? So she's definitely rather opinionated individual, a wonderfully intelligent woman, and once purchased herself a pair of shoes. Do you remember this story?
Yeah, I think, weren't they campers or something, like proper, quote unquote, proper leather shoes. And what happened? They started letting in water, wasn't it?
I can't remember what happened, but anyway, she decided. I mean, I think they were actually faulty, and she went up to the she went back to the shop to return them.
Yeah. She went in to return them saying, these are letting in water. And I think the woman was like, oh, well, you shouldn't be wearing them in the rain. And she was like, they're shoes. Like, they go on my feet, and occasionally one gets caught in the rain, or, the ground is wet.
Well, what happened was, as well, she said, these are faulty. And the woman at the cash register said, well, we haven't had any other complaints, so really it must be how you are using these shoes. And I said, exactly, you haven't had any other complaints. Therefore, my pair is faulty. If the rest are not faulty, I have a faulty pair because you haven't had these complaints. So obviously nobody else has this issue. So mine are faulty. So continued, I have no doubt, to persist and
Got her
was
money
successful in getting her money back, right? So again, back to your point of don't back down.
No.
I mean, if you believe you are, like if you're genuinely incorrect, I'm not at all suggesting that people should go in and complain about,
Yeah, something they put in the washing machine that said hand wash only, like, get a grip. Sorry, but like, we all hate hand washing things. And all my hand washing things now go in the washing machine under delicate. But I would never dream of bringing it back to be like, this thing you told me to hand wash that I ignored your instructions has fallen apart.
Okay, well, I've thought of a couple of other now complaints that are more food related, because obviously during the pandemic, I've had reason to order lots more food and order lots more delivery food. Well, actually, that's more takeouts, right? Takeaways than ever before. But I did get very annoyed with Kroger. So we were doing our 3 times a week shopping at this point.
I was about to say weekly, and then I was like, that's not right.
No, not really. We do like our big weekly shop, and then halfway through, you're like, I forgot this and I forgot that, and we need more milk, and whatever, I forgot to get toilet paper, the usual, right? And when we weren't, like when nobody was going anywhere, obviously everything was delivered, you know? But they also do substitutes. And Don is the worst, right? Because I'll say, text me. See, he has control of the Kroger account, which was a mistake from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like it goes to his phone and he refuses, as you know, to answer text messages.
Yeah. So basically, just to explain, because we definitely don't have, well, you can do Tesco online at home, but we don't have the same way. So like you'll get a text to say, Darren has started doing your shopping. We'll let you know about any substitutions. And then you get messages regularly saying, they didn't have your Heinz baked beans, so we're giving you these like black Mexican beans, and you're like, absolutely not, it's not the same thing. You know what I mean? So like you get the option to say yes or no.
Yeah, you don't get the option to say try something else, but you get the option to say no thanks, right? Or you can say accept no substitutions, which I've done a couple of times, and then you basically get like 4 things out of your shopping list.
You get half your shopping.
So that's a disaster, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you kind of have to put up with. So anyway, Don, as you know, is not good at answering his texts. So they'll write, you know, Susan, your shopper, has started shopping, and the food will arrive, and I'll go, Don, what the hell is this? Like, what's this coffee? What's this? And he goes, oh yeah, they were texting. I ignore those texts. So it's so annoying. And then he'll pick up his phone and go, oh, look at this nonsense. 15 things. He'd be scrolling through. They had nothing. I'm like, oh my God, I need to get a hold of his phone the minute this happens, right? But of course I never do. So anyway, after a couple of very unsatisfactory shops, I was unpacking the food and I was getting more and more peeved. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like I had requested Philadelphia cream cheese and a couple of other things. And I was opening, you know, I was taking it and it was Philadelphia cream cheese with chives and garlic. Strawberry flavored Philadelphia cream cheese.
I saw that in your fridge and I was very confused about it.
Then there was like bread with hazelnut swirl, bread with chocolate swirl. I was like, I just want some toasting bread, right? So I sat down at my computer and I never complained to Kroger because I'm also like, you know, it was a pandemic, like get over yourself. Now this was about 9 months into the pandemic, so we'd all gotten a little bit more, you know, intolerant, should I say. Well, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, I'm making an excuse for myself. It's not fair. No, I was in it. Maybe I was just in a bad mood. Who knows? Anyway, sit down at the computer and start typing like an irate message to Kroger. I'm like, you know, this is unacceptable. In what world is cream cheese? I mean, now that I think about it, I'm like, so embarrassing. I was like, these are not substitutions. And I have stayed quiet until now, but I can no longer stay silent.
I've stayed silent long enough. It's time for a protest.
Yeah, so I sent this like really irate message and I was like, I am an excellent customer. I am probably one of their best customers.
So you are.
I am an excellent customer and I want more care taken to my, so I get this like long apologetic message anyway back. And they're like, well, you know, what can we do for you? Please call us if you'd like to discuss further. I was like, no.
You're mortified.
Yeah, I was like, I just want to complain, right? I was like, I just want you to like tell, you know, whoever to like, just be careful with those subs. Anyway, then Don's like, lunchtime. Okay, so I go into the kitchen to see what's going on. And Bo's like, yes, let me try my strawberry cream cheese. Give me my hazelnut bread. I was like, oh my God.
He had requested these things.
He had gone in on top of my shopping list and added all these things. And he was like, I was like, what you mean? My strawberry cream cheese. Don's like, well, yeah, Bo, he wanted these treats. He wanted to try a couple of things. So I let him try them. I was like, could somebody have told me then you know, you're like, I'm losing it now. I'm
did
being
you apologize
entirely,
or did you just like go and hide from the computer?
Oh my God, entirely hid from the computer.
Well, similarly, the other day, despite living 11 minutes less, probably 8 minutes from our local McDonald's.
Sorry, excuse me, Rosemary. Despite living 30 seconds from your fridge and cooker.
Oh, Beatrice, don't upset me. The other day, so the boys were there. It was Monday or Tuesday. And I was trying to be like a cool stepmom. And I was like, what do we have for lunch? And I said, we ordered McDonald's, right? Basically, because I wanted McDonald's. I was hoping they got on board. William, little creep, I'm just going to have cereal. I was like,
oh my God, last night I said, well, we get Outback Steakhouse. And Nash goes, I really just want a salad.
A salad?
A salad.
Sorry, I don't mean to sound so horrified. Like, a nice salad is nice.
And I have to say, I was like, I don't have any ingredients for salad. Then I look out the window. I'm like, I could actually go out and cut the kale that I planted.
Oh, he wouldn't like a kale salad.
God forbid.
What? He wouldn't like a kale salad, would he? I like kale.
I like kale too. Why wouldn't he? He's desperate healthy now.
Is he?
Yeah, I mean, he's trying.
Anyway, so I decided to order McDonald's for myself and Finn, basically, because William was like, I want cereal. So despite living 8 minutes from McDonald's, and actually in hindsight, I should have just gone and done the drive-through because that would have put in some time. Whereas otherwise I'm like sitting there going, oh my God, we've all been here together for 20 minutes and it feels like 16 hours. Like, God, like the other day I was like, God, it must be lunchtime. Looked at my watch, it was 10 a.m. I was wrecked. We'd already like painted, jumped on the trampoline for ages, so taken videos of them doing cartwheels on the trampoline, played with Play-Doh, and it was like 10 a.m.
I know you do a lot with them.
No, I don't do anything with them. I just let them do what they like. I just get out the things and then I ignore them.
That's a lot of work.
Well, that's actually true. Anyway, so order this McDonald's, right? And I'll tell you, I'll get into this story now because it honestly enraged me. So on the app, on the DoorDash app, I think it's the same on Deliveroo, you can see where your person is who's picking up your food and you can see where your food is, right? So my food is like 2 seconds away from my house, right? But just ignore that. That's beside the point. My dasher, who's going to get it, is miles away. And I'm like, that's weird, that because basically I think what happens is it goes out in the app and goes, anybody want this pickup? And you, the dasher, can say yes. So I was like, why did he say yes? That's miles away from him. So he drives towards McDonald's and then he turns off and drives slightly backwards and parks in this like row of shops, right? So I'm literally watching the app as it's like, your order is ready for pickup. We're waiting for your dasher. I'm like imagining the chips, the steam disappearing off the chips, right? By the second, frantically. And I'm like, oh my God, where is our food? And I'm looking at him and he's still just sitting outside this place. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? I'm like, he's obviously doing another pickup. And I was in a rage. So I text him and I'm like...
You texted?
Yeah, because you can text your dasher, communicate with your dasher, right? So I text him and I was like...
Emergency, need McDonald's. Stat.
I was like, hi, Andrew. And I didn't say anything about McDonald's. I said my food. My food or my order. I said, hi, Andrew. It seems like you've been delayed. If you have another order to pick up, maybe you could... cancel the...
Maybe you could decline.
Maybe you could decline and let another dasher pick it up. And he writes back, there was a problem with the traffic and I had to reroute. And I was like, So then he sits outside this shop for another...
Drew.
Yeah, he sits outside this place for another 5 minutes. And I, meanwhile, I'm looking on Google Maps going, where is he? And I'm like... And then I start looking on Street View. I'm like, it is another restaurant. He is just picking up another order, right? I was like, honestly, he was investigating this. So then I went on to DoorDash and I was like, I'm just
literally, this is like Muncher, she wrote.
Imagining me like tapping away at the keyboard. He said, it's my knife and fork and I'm just banging them off the table. So anyway, literally like imagining my caramel sundae turning to sludge. Right?
Yeah, I've no doubt, yeah. Hardening. Getting that horrible film on it.
Oh yeah, it was actually fine, I have to say. Anyway, it's not the point. Then I go on to DoorDash and I'm like, I'm just going to complain to them. And I was like, hi, just to let you know, I'm waiting for my gourmet cuisine. Didn't say that. I was like, I'm just waiting for my lunch. I've been waiting, like, it was something like 40 minutes at that point.
10 minutes. That's the thing. That's what happens in America. Your idea of like a reasonable amount of time to wait. Because like you'll see when you go to restaurants with Americans.
Oh my God, Brandon is literally like, we've been sitting here 15 minutes, like in between courses. I'm like, so?
Yeah.
Like you're grand.
My
you're
food is digesting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're having a chat.
Or like fine. We arrived and I'm happy to order a glass. It's like,
where are they with my menus? Where This has been too long.
But it's also because like they eat dinner at 5 and want to be in bed by 7:30.
That's only in Fort Wayne, but like anywhere in the States,
there is busy. Time is money in America, Beatrice.
Yeah, and then they're like, I'm not tipping them. You're like, God bless them. This is their money. Just like
Brandon tips, except not delivery people. But anyway, not delivery people. But if he does pick up in a restaurant, he doesn't tip, which I'm kind of on the fence.
I'm kind of on the fence about that.
I'm like,
too.
I'd give them a $5. Give them something small.
I'd give them something too. Yeah, go on.
Anyway. So I get on to DoorDash and I'm like, hi, I've been waiting for your order. Like originally it said 12:17. I remember this vividly. Originally it said 12:17. Then it suddenly changed to 12:35. Now it says 12:47 and my dasher seems to be sitting outside another restaurant. I suspect he's on another job and I would like to be...
Oh my God. I suspect he's on...
And I was really getting carried away. I was like, I would like to have another dasher assigned to me.
I would like to have another dasher spitting my chips. Poor Andrew.
So the problem is, right, while I'm having this chat with her, I can't look at the map. And so she then gets back, bitch. She goes, as one of our most loyal customers. I'm like, stop shaming me. What I want you to say is like, we know this is your first time ever ordering from DoorDash, so we want to make it a special experience.
This is your first McDonald's this week.
It wasn't even. It was my second. Anyway, I know. No, my
just
second was on
going.
Wednesday. Anyway,
just keep going.
So she assigns me a new dasher. And then as soon as I click out of the chat, I realise Andrew's basically at McDonald's. But it's too late now. He's out and we got a new dasher.
Poor Andrew.
I know. And actually the food was hot. So I was wondering afterwards if they maybe just did it again. Because I was like...
Do you not think like poor Andrew? I mean, God love him. Like, I can't believe you're bullying a dasher.
Listen, Andrew shouldn't have taken the job if he was absolutely miles away. And he shouldn't have taken the job if he was then going to sit outside another shop for 15 minutes.
I'd say it's hard being a dasher all the same.
It is hard.
Yeah, that was really mean. I can't believe you couldn't wait half an hour for your chips.
It was Finn. He was starving.
Okay.
The child.
Tell the tomato ketchup story that you talked about earlier on.
Oh, God. It's not my first foray into like fast food complaints. Well, this actually wasn't fast food. And I maintain that I was correct about this, right? One day, I think it was, who was it? Me and Stephen. I think it was me and Stephen, or me and Liam, like me and one of my myriad exes went, what?
Do you mean Stephen and I? Me and Stephen went.
Yeah, Stephen and I
Me went. I love the way you had to put that together.
I'm like, wait a second. Stephen and I were eating in this fish and chip restaurant in Howth, right?
You better get your grammar better now for this baby, before this baby's born. God. You want this baby talking proper.
No, this baby will be... What's my least favourite Americanism? What's the one they say all the time? Oh, there's
I'm good.
I mean, all of that. But there's another one that I can't actually remember. I'll have to try and think of it. There's a particularly irritating one that drives me mad.
God, you are actually a desperate complainer, I'm noticing in this episode.
I'm such a complainer. Brandon's always telling the boys to pick up their rooms. I'm like, that's not possible. Pick up things from your room. Pick up things on the floor of your room.
Tidy your room.
Exactly. Boys go and pick up your rooms, and I'm imagining them lifting the rooms up on their shoulders. But they're only tiny. Anyway, so Stephen and I went to this fish and chip restaurant in Howth. It was basically like a glorified chipper, but like nice. You know what I mean? So you can order your fish and chips, or you can get prawns, or you can get whatever.
So why did you have to kind of say that? Like glorified chipper. It sounded like you didn't think it was nice. That sounded kind of...
Well, because this will make sense in a second.
Honestly.
No, this will make sense in a second. So we arrived, we sat down, we ordered our fish and chips, which are basically like delicious chipper chips, but slightly nicer. And then, there's like proper crockery and proper cutlery, and, you're having a nice meal. And then they had the ketchup in one of these big squeezy tomatoes. And when I squeezed out a healthy dollop of ketchup onto my plate and tasted it, I realised that it was not, in fact, the Heinz or Chef that I was expecting. Chef, I'll take it a pinch. Heinz, my favourite. But, you're like restaurant, you can choose. But it was, in fact, the one that you get in the giant tub from Musgraves. The real vinegary ketchup. You don't have a discerning ketchup palate like I do.
Excuse me.
Do you know what I mean, though? The cheap ketchup.
I know what you mean, but I mean, okay, go on.
Yeah, and I just was like, you know what? This isn't good enough, because you're paying, like, each of our meals was about €25.
Your voice has gotten very high pitched.
I know, because I'm feeling very defensive, because you're looking very judgmental about this. But anyway, basically, I obviously ate every single schmack of ketchup,
I'm
and every
sure
single
you
crumb
did.
of chips, right?
Clean that plate.
Yeah, every single
Jack
bit of
Sprat. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Jack Sprat could eat no fat. I'm Jack Sprat's wife.
Oh, okay.
His wife could eat no lean. I'm
Okay,
like
Stephen's
sucking up
Jack
the oil
Sprat.
off the chips. Yeah. So anyway, at the end, when she came around, she said, how was everything? And I said, everything was delicious. I said, the one thing I would say is I was a bit disappointed.
Oh my God, I can't. Poor
I was a bit
Stephen.
disappointed with the ketchup.
This poor waiter. God
This is really
bless.
making me think I have no problem complaining. I seem like I was a bit disappointed with the ketchup. I would have expected Heinz or Chef.
God, Rosemary.
I just think the ketchup kind of ruined the flavour. I'm sure anyone was like, you're not supposed to put ketchup on fish, you fucking dingbat. But like, I like ketchup.
Even. And this poor woman, did she have to keep a straight face and really deal with you?
No, she looked raging. And she literally went, okay, thanks. And at the time, I was irate. I was like, she could have at least said sorry.
The state of you.
But it really made me think now. If I went back to that restaurant, I'd bring my own ketchup sachets. That's why I keep them in the drawer from McDonald's.
Is that why you order from McDonald's so often? So you have a
that I can
healthy
get the
supply of sachets. Yeah, good job.
Thanks. But the other day, they didn't give me any, even though I requested them. I should have complained about that as well.
I actually have now decided you are fully American. You have fully integrated into the culture, and you are the biggest complainer I know.
Crocs now as well. But actually,
You were even complaining about your Crocs the other day.
they're very sweaty. Do you know your one from DoorDash? After she assigned me the new Dasher, she also gave me a $10 credit. Result.
I'm telling you, complaining pays off, and it shouldn't necessarily.
Well, I was in the right, Beatrice. My McDonald's from around the corner should not have taken 47
Rosemary,
minutes.
honest to God, you spent more time, your time is valuable. You spent more time now worrying about that McDonald's than the McDonald's cost itself.
And it took about 4 minutes to eat.
So you're obviously the queen complainers. I had no idea. What would your hot tips be for people now to wrap it up?
Bring your own ketchup. What would be my hot tips? I mean, be polite. Be persistent if you're bringing something back in a shop. Don't allow yourself to be shoved aside into a corner so that you can not disturb their flow. Because
somehow I don't think you're at risk of that.
if something is faulty, don't blame yourself. You know, if you've bought a pair of very, very expensive runners and they have a hole in them, that's not your fault. They're obviously faulty, as Ursula would say. I suppose when I was younger, or like in the past, I would have complained by not giving as good a tip, if you know what I mean. Especially like if the food wasn't good, I'd be like, well, that's not worth. But now I'm like, you know what? If the service is good, I'll still tip. But I try to. And sometimes I do feel mortified. I don't feel mortified through the DoorDash app because nobody can see my face. That's fine, right? That's the coward's way out. But that's like I do enjoy that. And I obviously didn't feel mortified that day in Howth because I was like, I'm in Howth. I'm sure people complain about less than this. I'd say they do. Some Beatrice.
Oh, Jesus, this is going off the wrong direction. Thanks so much for listening. I think our tips are, stand up for yourself.
Stop. What I was going to say was, if there's something wrong with the food, I think it is worth pointing out, and going, actually, this was a bit tough or
salty.
Well, no, I love salty things, so I never complain about that.
Obscenely salty.
Yes, this is too salty, or this was very spicy when it said it was going to be medium and I was a bit surprised, or whatever, just to give them feedback. But don't punish the wait staff.
Do you think you need to get into how you felt? Because I don't know that you need to say, I was a bit surprised or I felt upset. Could you just say like, this was a little bit saltier than anticipated, or you said this would be spicy, but in fact it smiled.
Okay, the sentence, this was saltier than anticipated, could also be translated as, I was surprised by how salty this is. So we're both correct.
Okay, great.
Thanks so much for listening to Not Without My Sister. Hopefully next time I'll be without my sister. And I can just tell my stories and
I can
not
just
be
complain
laughed at.
all by myself.
I can just complain for 45 minutes nonstop on my own. Thank you so much for listening. You can get us on Instagram at Rosemary McCabe and at Beatrice McCabe with A's in our Max. The podcast is on Instagram and Not Without My Sister. The website's notwithoutmysis.com, and you can email us notwithoutmysis@gmail.com. Now shut up for a second.
I was just a bit disappointed in the ketchup.
Shut up for a second. I was.
This is going to be my new catchphrase. I was just a bit disappointed with the ketchup.
Can you please stop? I need to add another thing.
Sorry. So stupid. Go on.
Oh. And if you'd like to support Not Without My Sister, we're now on Patreon at patreon.com/notwithoutmysister, where for $5 a month, which I think works out at about €4.50-ish, $7 apparently, you can sign up to support the podcast. You'll get an extra exclusive bonus episode every Friday, and you'll get our regular episodes a little bit early and totally ad-free. Not Without My Sister is produced by Liam Garrity, sound and original music by Don Kirkland, and our original illustration is by Lindsay Nielsen.
Not Without My Sister is a member of The Warren, the home of great Irish podcasts. As is my podcast, Meet Your Maker. You'll find more great shows at thewarren.ie.